is. And do you think that the underlying or the base of all of these problems is fear?
Yes. Well, so let's reframe fear into the word safety, right? Because we're hardwired for our personal safety. Now, if you were, I'll just take you down a little rabbit hole here for a minute, but if you're about to cross the road, you're making a risk assessment for your safety, right? It's automatic. It's on automatic.
Which is why I hate jaywalking fines. But anyway, keep going.
I am the worst jaywalker ever. No police listening. But we're like, even, taking a step, like walking downstairs, it's we're automatically assessing for risk to assess, is this safe to do? So if you're crossing the road and you're about to step out onto the road, you're making this automatic assessment, right? But if you're holding onto the hand of a child, right, there's fear, because is this safe, right? And you grip them a little bit tighter. And so, yes, it's fear, but, what is that fear driven by? The need for safety, right? And as a parent, it's a very strong safety mechanism that we need to keep them safe. And so the same applies in family law, right? But, couples separate, and it's like it's a safety thing, and as I said, it's like safety first in family law. It trumps everything else if there's risk. So the court's job in that way is basically risk assessment, mitigation of risk, and then sometimes management of risk that is ongoing. But fear-based, almost everything we do is driven by fear, because we're designed for safety. So, and fear is the thing that underpins that. Yes, a lot of it is driven by fear, but fear is such a, let's talk about fear. Is it? It might be. So one side of fear in family law might be, are my children safe? Do I have to continue? I feel unsafe having to continue to talk to this parent or to co-parent with them or to be in their present. They trigger me, they upset me. And there are also fears of, will I ever see my children again? I've got, I'm feeling pain. We get fear of pain, right? Yeah. And that's nobody wants to feel those depths of despair. There's fear associated with that. And so fear has got a lot deeper roots than just imminent safety, right? It actually goes through to the very core of us. And that's the one thing that I think we don't talk about enough is those really deep-seated fears that, especially when you're talking about connection to your children from either parent, it might be loss of relationship with the children, fear of financial ruin going through family court, because it's not cheap. There's a whole lot of fears that are embedded there. So is fear at the base of it? Yes, it's at the base of everything we do.
Yeah, absolutely. I had Callum McPherson on the podcast, and he said that fear drives you in the direction that you choose to go in a lot of ways, because it really does inform a lot of our decisions, even if we're not going through a separation.
It does, and I think, that's a very true and quite profound statement. And but I think the important thing that we have to do is that resilience is built by facing some of those fears in small steps. Yep. And we need, as society, to be more resilient, and to be exposed to adverse conditions is how we increase our bubble of safety. And increase our tolerance for other things around us. And it's a matter of kind of reality testing how we see the world. Like, is this actually unsafe? Like, I am terrified of huntsmans. Me too. Life, right? I know a lot of people can relate to this. My whole life, terrified of them. But if I was to do something like exposure therapy to make me, not so afraid of them, and I've gotten better at this as I've gotten older, and I'm well and truly a grown-up. But, my kids catch the huntsmans in the house, whereas previously I would want to burn the house down. So not an unrealistic thing, I think. But I can now look at a spider on a wall and go, okay, no, it's actually not going to hurt me.
Yeah.
I don't like the sneaky way they move around, but I know it's actually not going to hurt me. So I'm not triggered in the same way that I used to be, because I have made an intentional effort to get better at that. That being said, if one popped up over there right now, I'd give it some of that, but I might not necessarily shut down the record and leave the room.
But I guess but that fear of spiders, for example, that's put into us as children so we don't touch them. Oh, don't touch it, because your parents don't want you to get bitten, because they don't want you to have an infection, or they don't want to have to take you to hospital, or for you to go through that pain. So it's wired into us as we're little, but then as we grow older, we realize, oh, the last time someone ever died from a spider in Australia is decades ago. Now it's just going to make us a little bit sick, or, we've got things in place. So I think you rationalize as you get older. But Marnie, I want to ask you a question. Thinking right back to before you and your ex-husband broke up, in those moments, I want to know, what were your fears then that probably changed over time? So starting with, what were your fears then before you let go of that marriage?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I just want to say, before I answer that, I've heard a statement, there's a meditation that I listened to that's about facing your fears. And the irony of the statement that's made in that is that fear is there to keep us safe. So whether we're sitting in a situation that's comfortable, we don't want to move out of it because we fear facing, the uncomfortableness and the unknown and stepping into the unknown. That was definitely one of my biggest fears in my initial separation was, I don't know what's on the other side of this. And have I worked hard enough to keep this marriage together, to keep this relationship going? Is it ego talking? Or is it in the best interests of my children that we do actually separate out? My fear is, am I choosing my happiness over the happiness of my children? Am I doing the right thing for them? So much fear, basically, and I was frozen in that fear for probably about 5 years, just, you towing the line between, this is it, I can't stand it anymore. I don't think we can't grow together. My mental health was declining, as you know, and it's like, can I keep going? And I'd toe the line and I'd go, no, we'd have a talk about it. We'd go to counselling. We'd, discuss this. I'd wear my heart on my sleeve. We really opened ourselves up and talked about it. And then behaviours would change for a couple of weeks or a month or so, and then it would just slip back into life would get busy again, and the same behavioural patterns occurred, and the same arguments are coming up and all that kind of thing. So it was that, that one final moment that was just that, no, I've had enough. My line was crossed and stepped over, and I went, I have to go through with this now. I can't stay in this relationship. I've got to step out from it. And it was just, going from, maybe the comfortableness was keeping me in that too, but facing my fear and going, okay, my children are going to be okay. And I was getting the advice from the psychologists and talking to friends and talking, and Relationships Australia were great as well. And reading up on it, information as well about how we can best keep the children safe, I guess, and do this in a way that's going to be constructive, not destructive, on them or on us.
And keeping the children safe in the context of free from conflict as well. It's not all about physical safety. That I think it was for you? Yeah,
that's exactly it. There was no physical violence at all for me, and there was not, emotional. There was no real emotional violence either. It was. I remember saying to him, if we have a disagreement, then we'll take it, outside, away from the children. We won't argue in front of them. What we're going to do going forward is just put the needs of our two girls first. And us, and we'll put our relationship as a completely different to that, and put that in another box, and deal with that.
Yeah. And then your fears changed over time. So then your fears were around your girls and how and their mental health after you guys moved out from each other. And then, of course, your fear has moved again about the safety of your children, because as you start dating, it's like, who am I going to bring into their life? So the fear doesn't go away. It changes.
Yeah. One of the things about fears that I address quite a lot is that one of the one of the drivers for fear is the lack of predictability, right?
Yeah.
So it's when we can't see the future. It's when we can't visualize what's going to happen in the future. And that's where, like, this risk assessment, this safety assessment all the time can get blocked, right? And I mean, I realise we're on a podcast and my visual representations here probably aren't going to help a lot. But if you think about the human brain, at the back you have your vision. Your vision actually comes from the back of your head, and at the front of your head is where your cognitive thought comes from, your ability to predict things in the future. But your fear, the fear mechanisms in the brain are sort of in the limbic system are just above, kind of like I'm pointing at my ear at the moment. Yeah. So just above your ear. So it's right in the centre. Now, you can't create vision for predictability of the future when you're blocked by fear.
Wow.
So constant, it's really powerful. And my visual representations around this are normally spectacular.
That's all right. I'm going to stick this on YouTube for people to see.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I should have gone into more.
You can start again if you like.
But that's like that blockage here in the limbic system that's where you've kind of got to go, and this is where resilience is needed. Well, I've been here before and actually this is safe, and can I expand that bubble a little bit more? Because I can't see what's going to happen in the future, but I need to be able to see what's going to happen in the future. So it's this predictability thing of coming forward and into this space where we're sort of, able to have a clear line of thought from the back of our head, and that channel is open to predictability. So, that's it's a lack of predictability. And when you recognise that I can't see what this is going to be like in the future, it's like, okay, well, this is actually coming from a place of fear. So let me think about why do I feel unsafe in this situation, or what are my fears? And list what they are, and to actually work through each of those, like, what is it that's driving this thought? But then the important part is to reality test that. Well, is this a real fear, or is this something historical from a past relationship, or something my parents did? Because we all love to blame our parents for everything. Yeah. So, is this a historical thing? Is this something that I heard happened to somebody else, right? So there's all of this reality testing that needs to go on as well.
Yeah.